Andrew Combo Salop. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. I'm doing well. It's a crazy world we're living in. 2020 has taught us a lot of lessons, but
Yeah.
we are here, Max. We are here. We're talking, and I listened to your podcast. I've heard your comparisons with Marvel and NBA superstars,
Yeah.
and I've heard you talk to my guy Rashad Phillips and Zach,
Yeah.
and I do listen to your pod in its entirety, so often.
Thank
So
I really appreciate that. You as well. You have I'm really excited about this one because and now this is no disrespect to any other type of guest, but it's always a pleasure and it's always fun when you have people who have their own shows because you guys obviously know how to carry yourself, you know how to really just keep an amazing, very factual conversation like Rashad and Zach and yourself. I absolutely love it. So I'm extremely excited and I just want to say thank you again for supporting and listening to mine as well.
anytime, and thanks for having me on your show, Max. Really appreciate it.
Oh, always. You're always welcome. I'm surprised I haven't done this sooner. We haven't done this sooner, so I
Right.
apologize. That you're welcome anytime.
So,
Now you mentioned my Marvel. Yeah, I'm a movie nerd. So it was easy for me. I'm like, oh my god, I love Marvel movies, and so it was just I'm like, oh my god, this just seems to fit seamlessly.
right.
So one of the things I want to get into first is for the people listening, you were a former pro basketball player from 2007 to 2017. You
Yes.
have your podcast, which is available on any podcast platform, host of the Combos Court podcast. Can you take a moment and kind of just give the people listening a background of yourself?
Yeah, so Andrew Combo Salop, as you stated already. I grew up in Riverdale. Played high school ball, played college ball. Then I started playing in the minor leagues, the ABA, and we
Okay.
we went to Singapore. And it's a condensed story. I'm not gonna be out here now. We're talking about my story, but we traveled to certain places. An agent took my game film and sent it to a team in Israel. I actually went out there with him to Israel, worked out
Wow.
with some teams, and that became a 10-year career overseas. I played in Israel mostly, but I also played a year in Denmark, which was great. Um, my last year overseas, I wanted to have my own sports show. I was actually thinking about getting into play by play, but the easiest way to get in this is just create your own. So I figured start a podcast, and that's what I did. I started Combos Court, and now we're here, 150 episodes later. With a lot of great guests, and man, it's been a crazy journey. And shouts to
Right.
everyone who listens to Combos Court across the globe, and shouts to everyone who has a great basketball podcast like yourself, man.
I appreciate it, man. And like I said, everyone listening, please check it out. It's a lot of people have shows, a lot of people have podcasts, but not everyone understands it firsthand because they didn't experience it firsthand. You've played at obviously at an elite level, so that gives you a background knowledge that very few people have. So it's definitely worth a listen. It's great stuff. Please, everyone, check it out. And again, thank you for coming on because I'm really excited for this podcast for sure.
I'm happy to be here, Max. Anytime, bro.
All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. So right now, for one, I know this is a really strange time, so I've been starting every single show as
Yeah.
first off, health and safety is the most
Yes.
important thing right now. So you and your family in these strange times are doing okay with the whole coronavirus?
Yes, everybody's doing okay for sure. My mom is very worried, but she's doing
Right.
okay, and
Right.
my family is good. My son is good, so everything is good, man. But definitely thoughts and prayers to everybody who's been affected by the coronavirus.
Yeah. It's strange, man, and it really is. And no one has any real information on what's going to happen next. I mean, there's like you look at the chart and when it's going to peak, and you have to just really just social distance and whatnot. So it's just a strange time. Sports are on hold. No one's really experienced this before, so it's just uncharted territory for everybody.
Most definitely, it's crazy times, and nobody really knows what's going to happen. But
Yeah,
I think I'm an optimistic person. I think everything will turn
yeah.
out okay. You know?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I always like looking at I even said on my a couple podcasts ago, I'm like, I think, and I'm not just saying this to be optimistic, but I truly believe in this. I like to look at the good in things. And I think the NBA has an opportunity to tweak some things, has an opportunity to actually grow from this because now Adam Silver has an opportunity to sit back. And I think anybody will just be happy to see sports again. So he has the opportunity to tweak some things that he may not have had the wiggle room or leverage to do before. So if it does return, I think this is an opportunity to limit the regular season or even just really tweak some things. Do you think the NBA has an opportunity to grow from this as well?
Oh, most definitely. They could try some new things. I mean, ratings were down. I mean, it was a small sample size for how long it was down. These things happen, they fluctuate.
Yeah.
But it's definitely about that time to tweak some things because, man, the kids consume basketball in such a different way now.
Yeah.
So it's just like totally different than from when I was growing up. but that's just how it is. And I think they definitely have to tweak some things. A shorter season might be the right way to go, and just kind of just shift things towards a person that has a perspective of like a shorter attention span. People have
Yeah.
shorter attention spans for sure.
Yeah, it's a fast food type of society that Rashad and I always talk about. People just want it
Definitely.
now. They don't read the newspaper now. They want the highlights now on Twitter. Couldn't agree more. So one thing I've noticed is this is giving everyone an opportunity to reflect, to make lists, to really just compare the greats. So people have come out with their top 10, and I haven't done mine in a really long time. And I'm like, man, there's no better person to do it with than yourself.
We're
So
here. I
yeah,
actually made one. People weren't too happy with it.
exactly. So I knew this would be a perfect opportunity to go over it. Now, one thing I'll say before we go over our lists is you and I are we're not haters. And I
No.
think people the quickest thing to do and judge people if it's not the list that they want is, oh, you're hating on such and such player. And it's not hating. It's just, for one, it's opinion. Two, when you're comparing the all-time greats, the top 10 greatest players in history of the world, you have to nitpick. Yeah, you have to. You have to nitpick. All these people are so great. So it's just kind of, what do you prefer over the other type of aspects? So for you, before we get into the top 10, how difficult, for one, was it for you to make this? And two, what are some things that you've noticed? Like, what puts this guy over that guy? Is there like a common thread that you've noticed on when someone's above someone else?
For me, I look so heavily into feel for the game and IQ, probably more
Okay.
than others, and the ability to make others around you better.
Okay.
Those are really things I like to, hang my hat on when I'm analyzing talent. So really, those kind of guys are the guys that are probably going to be higher on my list. You know what
Okay.
I mean? For
So
sure.
it's not so much just stats. It's just the eye test.
Oh, not at all. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Obviously, you need a certain stat to be on this list. You can't
of course.
average 12 and be on the
Right,
list,
right.
you know?
Okay. That being said, do you want to just knock like one at a time? You want to knock off the top 10? How do you
Oh
want to do
yeah,
that?
Matt, this is the MVP podcast. However you want, Max. We're out here, man.
Okay. All right. So, all right, let's go. Oh, for one, if people want to actually check out your page and your list, what's your Instagram and Twitter?
1-2 combo ONE TWOCOMBO. I'm not as heavy on Twitter, but I'm out there. I'm usually just retweeting episodes on that. But you can
Okay.
find me on Combos Court on Twitter. COMBOSCOURT.
Okay. Great. Because you put your list out on there. So now, all right, let's just go with number one off the bat. You're my guest. So you obviously, the floor is yours. My guest goes first.
And I think you agree with me on this one because I listened to the podcast. I could be
Okay.
wrong. Maybe you shifted on me. LeBron James, number one.
100%. We're in agreement. You froze there. One moment. Okay, you there?
Yeah, we broke up a little bit. I don't know
Okay.
who that was.
They don't want
Hopefully
us
it
to
wasn't
say
me.
that. They don't want us to say LeBron James. You see how the connection paused for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, the whole world is going to attack us, so please defend why you have LeBron number one.
Just makes everybody around him better. Could do more with less than anybody else. Just the craziest combination of athleticism and IQ, and he's still playing at a higher level. I mean, he's still playing at a super high level, and in some ways even a higher level than his prime. Like I watched Miami Heat recently. Obviously, we're all watching a bunch of old
Right.
games now, but his IQ was great then, but it's considerably higher now. Like he just got better. And even if you want to go to the stats point of view, he's leading the league in assists.
Yep.
I think if you went just by stats, Giannis would win. But I mean, I got a few guys. Nothing against Giannis. I always say this. I got a few guys in the league that I think are better than Giannis at this point. And
Great.
that's just how I look at it. Yep. How about you, Max?
Okay, so I have LeBron as well for all the reasons you mentioned. Now, this is the one thing I want to point out because what I've noticed when you ask other hoopers, people that have played professionally, played at a high elite level, a lot of them don't put LeBron first. They really think that high regards for Kobe and Jordan. So I think that's a
Yeah.
unique perspective for you to do that because like I said, I've noticed a lot of players, especially who played during that time, and obviously who's played at your level. I've always heard Jordan. So I think that's really unique that you say LeBron. I just want to touch on that.
Yeah, I think they might have their opinions a little bit based more on scoring and the killer mentality, not
Yeah.
saying that LeBron can't score and not saying LeBron doesn't have a killer mentality because he obviously does. I mean,
Yeah.
he's had many, many clutch plays in the past. But yeah, I told you, I just hold IQ and feel for the game and making everybody around you better at such a high level. That's why, I mean, Bird and Magic were so great. That's
Yeah.
just you know, that's how I look at it. And obviously, that killer instinct is everything. I mean, you could obviously argue Jordan's the greatest player of all time because of it.
Right, right.
And Kobe's so high on everybody's list. So,
He is.
it
And
is what it is.
that's what I was about to say. It's like it's really hard to. There's no really right or wrong. It's just based on what you look for and who's the
Yeah.
best. So I'm in agreement with you. I don't need to beat a dead horse too much here with LeBron because I could just say the same thing as you. But now number two. This is, I would assume it's Michael Jordan on your list.
Oh, we're going ever. I thought we were going this year.
Oh, we're going ever.
Oh wow. Well, I would have LeBron at number 2, but I could go off the top. I would have Jordan at number
You
2
want
for
to go off
sure.
the top? You could take a moment and
Nah, I got you.
evaluate
I got
this.
you.
Okay.
I got you. Because I actually put out a top 5 position wise, but
Okay.
it's not the same. It wouldn't be the same if it was my top 5 with no positions. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So I got
sure.
you. I'll pull up that and I'll figure it out from there. But yeah, I would have LeBron and no, I would have Michael Jordan at number 2. I would have Michael
Okay,
Jordan.
so we're in
Which
agreement.
which even that coming out of my mouth sounds crazy.
It does.
You know, it just sounds bad, but I just feel like LeBron is the better basketball player, but Michael Jordan might have had a better career when he was
Mhm.
there. Not longevity wise, just the 6 for 6
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, for sure.
You can't
One
really
thing,
argue with him not having the best career. Kareem in there as well.
yeah. Again, sorry for the confusion there. I mean, like I said, you're a basketball guy, so I knew you'd be okay. And I mean, I can even do the current players as well.
No, it's
So
all
yeah,
good. I'm gonna go to my other list. We're all good.
there you go. So yeah, LeBron's my one. I have Jordan as two. And one thing I was going to say is what you mentioned. It's an accumulation of everything. It's not just accolades. It's not just stats. If you went to the YMCA and you saw two players play, you don't know what they are, what they've accomplished. You don't know anything about them. And you saw a guy that can play all 5 positions, offensively and defensively, elevate others the way LeBron can. I would assume you would say, I think that guy's the better player. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. And that, again, no disrespect to Jordan. This is not me saying Jordan's not great whatsoever, because I'm sure Jordan's the favorite when people make these lists as number one. But I just think eye test, it's LeBron.
For sure, for sure. No, I'm with you, and not on top of that, just I'd rather play with LeBron, to be honest. I mean, he makes he passes the ball more, he makes everybody around him better. I don't think Jordan's the easiest guy to play with, even though you could easily say he's the greatest. I mean, LeBron seems like an easy guy to play with, even though there's been people said in the past that superstars don't want to play with him, but I mean, it seems like he's pretty cool to play with me.
Me too. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think he wins a ring this year. That's like, okay, that's the icing on the cake. He won with a third different team, LA.
Hopefully they could finish the season, Max. Man.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So you have LeBron as one. I have LeBron as one. You have Jordan 2. I have Jordan 2. This is where I think things are going to get really tricky here. So who's your third all time?
My third all time would be, no question, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Okay. All right.
No question. Yeah, I mean, look, what is it? 6 titles, 6 MVPs, or 5 MVPs maybe. I don't have his stats in front of me.
I think he has 6 MVPs with 6 rings.
Ridiculous, man. That guy.
Yeah.
The only reason I wouldn't have him ahead of LeBron and Jordan probably is because he can't initiate offense. Besides that, he's their equal. I mean, he had the most dominant shot in NBA history. Man, you could argue he's the greatest ever. I'm not mad at anybody's. I would not be mad if anybody said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the greatest ever. Who would you have? Okay,
I'm about to say, then you're maybe a little upset with me.
Okay.
It was this guy. It was Kareem 3 or this guy, and I'm going with his teammate Magic Johnson.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, for me personally, he's honest, and I know I'm a younger generation, but so I didn't grow up watching him live. But I mean, I'm trying to think of a nice word for this. I'm addicted to basketball and I'm obsessed with it. So I've watched all the old games, all the classics, and I honestly fell in love with basketball because of Magic Johnson. I just remember watching the old clips, the hardwood classics, and I'm like, man, I just love the way it's not even just his stats or it's just the way he played and the way he carried himself. Like people literally, he walks into a room and they talk about his smile and people gravitate towards that. And he's a happy, positive person. And then he reflected
the
that
things
on
you can't count, the intangibles.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, I'm just in love with his style of play. So that's why it may be a little biased because he's not the all-time leading scorer. He has 5 rings, not 6. He doesn't have 6 MVPs, but the way he initiated the offense and he elevated everyone around him. 6'9" point guard Magic's my third. Kareem's my fourth, though.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. Let me ask you a question though. At their peaks, who was better, Larry Bird or Magic Johnson?
Probably Larry Bird.
Right.
Yeah, I'd probably say Larry Bird. Pound for pound, obviously, better scorer, better shooter.
Right. I agree.
But I just think throughout his career, and then you add the accomplishments, and then you add. That's why I have Magic Johnson above Bird. But at their peaks, I would probably go Larry Bird.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And longevity, got to give Magic status. On my list, I would probably have Bird above Magic.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
think his peak was so crazy. 3 MVPs in a row.
Yeah.
he was like close to 30, 10 and 10. I don't have the stats in front of me. Like he was around there, in an era that was really tough to do that. So, and man, people say he wasn't athletic. That guy was an underrated athlete. Like
He was.
There's people that are 6'9" that can't walk across the street, man. Like that guy was great in transition. He could finish above the rim. I mean, I don't really see the not athletic thing. And he was an underrated, crafty defender. And obviously, we know about his shooting, passing, and rebounding ability. So
Yeah, he's definitely the best fighter on this list. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, no, he didn't back down from anybody.
No,
Isaiah didn't back down from anybody either. A lot of those guys didn't, man.
Yeah, it's that dog mentality.
Sure.
All right, so I have Magic as my third. You have Kareem as your third. I kind of gave it away already. Kareem's my fourth for everything you've said. You could easily say this guy's the number one of all time. I have him fourth on my list. So who's fourth on your list?
I would have to go with fourth. I would have to go with Bird. I would have to go with Bird. Yeah.
Okay.
For all those reasons I just said.
Yeah. No, this is where it gets super tricky for me because I agree with everything you've just said about him, but for some reason I don't even have him fifth. And it's because this is why this list gets so tough, but why it's so fun. Like, I think Larry Bird is a better player than the player I'm putting at number 5. And then you'd say, Max, why do you have this guy above him then? Because you can't deny how much this guy's won. And that's why I guess I'll jump into my number 5. My number 5 is Bill Russell. Yeah, it's so hard to not put someone who's the winningest player of all time in all of sports, 11 rings. I mean, it's not like he didn't have good stats anyway. His games would be ridiculous with stats. But I have Bill as my 5 because it's like I don't know how to put him any lower than that.
Right. No. And to that point, to everything you're saying is true, man. It's really tough. It's splitting hairs.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even know.
11 rings.
Yeah, he was just like Will Chamberlain was more talented than Bill Russell, but Bill Russell was just better. He was just
he just won
because of all the intangibles. He was just so smart. Like he used to let Will Chamberlain just score, so he wouldn't get angry, and he wouldn't be as like he did things like that. Bill Russell, he was ridiculous. I'm not mad at it. It's crazy because when I did my position list, when I posted that online, I don't even know if it's still on there, but Bird wasn't Bird wasn't on there because I did it by position, and I had LeBron as the 3, so that kind of took out Bird.
Yeah.
And then Tim Duncan was my 4 because I feel like he's the greatest power forward, and Larry 100%. Bird really wasn't a 4 to me. So
yeah,
100%. So that's why Bird wasn't on that list, but I would have Bird at number 4 for sure, and then I think I would go with Magic at 5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Steve, now this is getting tough because now.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at another list now, just going through it. But I'm here, Max. I'm with you, man. I'm working.
Okay. All right. So I have LeBron, Jordan, Magic, Kareem, Bill. You had LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Bird, Magic.
Right.
Okay. Do you want to go to number 6 then? So we go back in order. Your number 6?
My number 6 would have to be Wilt Chamberlain. Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, he scored 100 points in the game, averaged 50 for a season, man. I mean, I know I said I'm not the stats guy before, but that's a pretty crazy stat right there. Changed rules. The rules of the game. One of the rules that changed that a lot of people don't talk about, and man, I'm still not even sure if this is a myth or not, but they stopped that you can't jump over the free throw line because he was dunking free throws, man.
He's ridiculous. He's ridiculous. He's actually. I had to put my centers back to back. I had Wilt as my 6 because.
Okay.
And like I said, it's hard because I don't want to put Larry so far down on this list, but putting Bill because of the 11 rings, and I'm putting Wilt like everything you just said. I mean, if you look at his stats, they're beyond 2K numbers. Like they don't make any sense.
For sure. No, 100%. I'm with you.
Yeah, Wilt's my 6. Okay, so now let's go to 7.
I will have to go with Tim Duncan, the greatest power forward of all time. I think he's a little underrated, uh, and that's why I have him that high. It's really close with him and Kobe for that era, man. I'm not
Yeah.
mad at I'm not mad at anybody who says Kobe over Tim Duncan. I can't be mad at you for that, for
Yeah.
that era. But Tim Duncan's the greatest power forward of all time, one of the highest IQs ever. Was just a winner, man. And with the stats, you could go through the stats, and he'll match up everything there as well. An analytics guy would look at all his numbers and be, happy with him, even though they wouldn't like that he didn't shoot threes, but easy twos. So yeah, I got to go with Tim, man. I got to go with Tim
Mr. Fundamental. Can't go
for
wrong.
sure, for sure. The big
All right.
fundamental.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, really. It's so crazy,
And
too.
that's
About
another one he's close with Shaq, man. He's Shaq's right there, too.
I'm telling you that this list gets so tough. And it's like what I really like about Duncan is just, again, back to what you've said in the beginning of this podcast, is it's not even just what shows up on the stat sheet. Like this guy was consistently great and always was, you knew what you were getting with him since the moment he stepped into the NBA to his last game. He was the same person. He didn't, like, when you look at the careers of Kobe and even some of these other players, it's kind of like a high, low, high peak season. And then it goes down. Like Duncan's like this, like the whole
Right.
time. It's incredible.
Right. No, 100%, 100%. And I think he gets underrated often because he's not a highlight guy.
Yeah.
We're not going to go on YouTube and look at Tim Duncan highlights. So
Yeah, exactly. And
his greatness is not going to age as well as others.
Right. And he didn't have a goodbye tour. He just likes to just do his thing, do his job, and leave.
For sure.
My number 7's Larry Bird. So
Okay.
I had to put the Bill and the Wilts in there. So now my number 7 was Larry Bird. For everything we've already discussed and more. It's very hard. Like I said, I don't like looking at Larry Bird at 7. I just couldn't put him above those other guys for me personally. But that leads us to, I believe, number 8 now for you.
Right. I would have Shaq at number 8. Yeah, just the most dominant force we've ever seen.
Right.
Another person, I'm not mad if you put Kobe above him as well,
Yeah.
That's really close. But I just feel like he's just the most dominant player we ever seen. Maybe, obviously we could say Wilt was more dominant in his prime, but besides that, I can't think of anybody else. So I'm going with Big Shaq.
Yeah. No, dude, it's hard. And this is
and a
where,
great passer and great fundamentals and all that stuff is very underrated and quick feet.
Yeah.
He was just so good, man.
Yeah, he's the most dominant force the league's ever seen. My number 8 is Kobe Bean Bryant, and I know like you could easily put Duncan and Shaq above him. Like I completely get it, but for me, even though he had more of a roller coaster career than Duncan did, I just at his all-time peak, kind of like what we talked about with Bird and Magic, I'm just taking Kobe. Like the killer mentality, the 81 points, the elite defender. And then winning those rings where he was the finals MVP, because a lot of the first 3 rings, Shaq had the final MVPs. Kobe's my number 8. It's, again, very tough, but I would give the slight nod to Kobe as my number 8.
Yeah, Kobe's next for me, for sure.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the closest thing we've ever seen to Mike, easily, like he wanted to be like Mike, and he really almost got there. Like, it's kind of crazy, He walked like him and talked like him. And he probably had the greatest work ethic in NBA history. And him and Mike have the greatest killer mentality we've ever seen. So, yeah, definitely got such a skilled player. Could go right, could go left, could shoot, post up, hit the 3, mid-range, whatever you want, floaters, reverses. Like, he was kind of like Kyrie is in that way a little bit. Like, he just has so many options, So many options. It's crazy.
He's an artist.
Like, whatever you want,
There's highlights of this man doing turnaround faders with his left hand.
Like, what are you going to do? Like, things you wouldn't even think, things other basketballs wouldn't even ever think they needed. And he had it.
Yeah. Yeah, it made no sense. And I will say this, because I had Kobe, I think, at 7 or 8. I think he's probably, well, also because of his passing, I think he's like almost had the biggest impact on the league. Like, I would not be upset. Actually, I would be a promoter of this, for him to become the logo. And I know if it doesn't, obviously I don't think it's going to happen. And if it doesn't, that's okay. But I wouldn't even mind that. But just because for what he stood for, I don't know. I just think what he's meant to so many players of this generation, past generation, just everything and what he's meant to the game.
Yeah, every player now has all these young guys that you see. Jason Tatum, Kyrie. We could go through the list forever and ever. They have some of Kobe's DNA in them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just like the guys before them had some Jordan DNA in them. But the Kobe DNA and the Jordan DNA is kind of in the same realm. You know, so it all goes
Yeah.
together for sure.
So your number 9 was Kobe. My number 9 is Duncan. For everything you've said as well. Like I said, if you put Duncan above Kobe, I get it. Just for me, he's obviously a top 10 player. So people may be actually upset of how low I have him on the top 10, but Duncan's my 9. So now that leaves you for number 10.
Man, I'm gonna go. Man, this is tough, Max. This one's tough. Can I say the people that are in consideration? Can I talk to you about that?
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
So man, Akeem Olajuwon definitely in consideration
Hakeem the Dream.
for sure. I mean, look for all the reasons you said, Bill Russell, the greatest winner of all time,
Yeah, he's not in
and
your top
10. Man, nah, he might be, but and then the third person that I think should get some consideration is Kevin Durant.
That was bro. After this whole list, that was my next topic for you. Was there's some players I want to say, hey, can you see them cracking the top 10? But all right, keep going.
And he might be there, but I'm gonna go with Bill Russell, man. You have to all those championships.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with Bill Russell. But Hakeem is right there. I mean, I think Hakeem's peak was better than Russell's peak. You know, like his peak was crazy. Unguardable. And that was a different style NBA. But I do think he'd be good in this NBA because he had great footwork, played soccer, had great touch. Like he would have just worked on that 3-pointer if he was in today's NBA, and probably would have been the best center in the league right now. So
that's great. Great point.
So Bill Russell, yeah, I'll take Bill Russell at 10. But Kevin Durant and Hakeem are right there, man, right there.
Okay. My 10 is Shaq. For everything we've already said about Shaq, that was my next thing. My last thing for you. Andrew Combo Salop joining us again. Please check out his podcast, Combo's Court podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate your time. Okay. So you mentioned Kevin Durant. I want to throw another one at you. So you think Kevin Durant could crack the top 10 if he goes to Brooklyn? Let's say he wins a championship.
If he wins a championship, he's in there. I mean,
okay.
unless something crazy happens, like he averages 10 and the whole team carries him somehow,
right.
He's not the same, or something crazy like that, which probably won't happen. But yeah, man, if he wins a championship and is the same Kevin Durant, like, he's in my top 10.
Okay.
He's underrated. Like people, I love Curry. I can't see how Curry is above him.
You're stealing the words right out of my mouth. Okay. My next person was Steph Curry. The guy.
And I'm not mad at it, but I just think KD is clearly the better basketball player to me.
Okay, I agree. But do you think he, as of right now, has the better legacy all time?
No, I mean, that's the other thing. Like Steph Curry changed the game, I think, more than Kevin Durant did. Was he a better basketball player than Kevin Durant? No, and not in my opinion. Was he one of those guys that changed the game of basketball? For sure. Even more than Kevin Durant did, you know? So that's a great argument if you use that, you know?
Yeah. I was about to say, do you think, let's just say, and hypothetically, Curry wins his 4th ring. So right now he has 3 rings, first ever final unanimous MVP. He has 2 MVPs, greatest shooter of all time, changed the game forever. Let's say he wins a 4th ring because we're going to have Draymond, we're going to have Clay back, Steph, and then Andrew Wiggins. Let's just say they win a 4th ring. Does that catapult him up to a top 10 type of list?
Oh, man.
4 rings. That's 4 rings now with 3 different type of teams.
That has to push him ahead. If he does it. And it's also going to be it's also going to be the way he does it. So, you know,
he's got to get a finals MVP in there. He does.
Yeah, he does have. Yeah, man, because there's been times where, you know, he wasn't the Steph Curry we're used to.
Right.
In the finals. Obviously, he was great, but he wasn't the Steph Curry we're used to. And when you're splitting hairs like that, you need those accolades because it's so competitive up there when you're talking top 10.
Yeah. My last question for you is there a player right now, up and coming? It could be a Luka, it could be a Zion, a Giannis, a Trey. Is there a player out there for you that you're like, that guy has the potential to be a top 10, that he could be a top 10?
Well, I think anybody who listens to Combo's Court is going to know who I'm going to say, is about to know. Luka Doncic for sure, man. Luka Doncic. Yeah, because he's in my top 5 NBA player list right now. So
top 5? Really?
Yeah. Like, to me, like, Zach gets on me for this, but but to me, he's – well, actually, you know what? Zach pretty much agreed with me after we had the conversation, though. I think he posted that on Twitter.
Okay.
To me, he's better than Giannis. Like,
No, I agree. I agree.
yeah. So I mean, and Giannis is an MVP candidate. So I mean,
He's a
that's where
better
I'm going
basketball.
with it. He's a better basketball player than Giannis, and Giannis is good. Just the way, I mean, Luka could score on all three levels, elite vision that can't be taught, great size, uh, has those intangibles in his game to just raise the whole level of a team. Got them into the playoffs this year when I think a lot didn't expect it. Um, yeah, man, and I think he has room for improvement as a shooter, even though he gets off so easily now.
I
He could
do.
become a he could become a better shooter than he is now. And great form, great mechanics. It's going to get better. He's going to get better, and he could get in even better shape, which is crazy
Yeah.
too.
And I think he's also in a good situation with a good owner, obviously a good franchise. And I think his level of success that he's already reached, if he's able to sustain it, you could say he's been this type of player for since his rookie year. He's been elite.
For sure. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And
So Luka's your guy out of all those young guys. So Luka has a chance to go top 10.
yes, definitely. I think honestly, if he stays injury free, I think he will go top 10.
Man, if I took anything away from this podcast, I think it's that right there.
Yeah,
That's
man.
big. That's big time.
Lucas, I think he's a little different. I think he does. I think the brain works a little bit differently. And I talk about this on my other podcast. And actually, Mo Dakhil, who's a former NBA video coordinator, he disagreed with me
Yeah,
when I told him that I think the European experience thing is not. It's so important. It made him, it gave him so much experience, but I think it's overblown for the reason him being such a great player. Obviously, I think it accelerated the process, but I think
right.
there's just some things that people have a mentality, a mindset, the way that things connect in their brain to give them elite vision and make them an elite player, like the way they read the game, like Larry Bird, like LeBron James, like something's different that works in there. It works a little differently.
I'm a huge Trey guy, but I could not agree with you more. And I think you and I we look at the game almost through the same lens. It seems like right now
Yeah,
because
that's why I listen to your podcast because I agree with.
I
I mean,
appreciate
it's
that.
good to listen to people who disagree with you as well,
Right.
obviously, and I do that all the time. Like, guys like Skip Bayless. I don't even know if he's serious half the time, but he's great. He's great at what he does. But I'm like, are you
He is
serious? Like
right.
you would think LeBron's not good at basketball if you see LeBron. If you've never seen LeBron play and just heard Skip talk. But
LeBron could like just lose a game of 21 or a game of horse outside of his driveway to his son, and he'd be like, Jordan would never do that. So
and the
it's
crazy
just
and the crazy thing is that I thought Skip was doing it on purpose, but Shannon Sharp, I mean, he's like I believe him when he said on that podcast with Steven Jackson that Skip is dead serious.
he
So
is. He is. But one
it's
thing I was
crazy.
gonna say is I could not agree with you more because you can look at a plethora of people who've played overseas for a long time who have not had the success that Luka has. He's transcending the game. It's transcendent what he's doing, and that, to your point, is something that he just has. That's just something he's born with. He obviously approaches the game the way the all timers do. He obviously sees it the way the all timers do.
Yeah.
So to your point, yeah, the overseas obviously helped and progressed his development, but there's something there that overseas just doesn't create. That's something you just have.
For sure. And overseas there's a 16, 17-year-old or 18-year-old or 19-year-old on the end of every EuroLeague bench and they
Right.
might not even play. The reason
Right.
he got that opportunity is because they identified this kid is great, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg. So,
Right.
you
Dude,
know.
it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. You're welcome anytime you want. Anytime.
Oh
I
yeah.
apologize it took us this long to create a podcast together, but now you're welcome anytime for sure.
Definitely, man. That top 10 was off the dome, so people don't kill me out there, all right? Don't kill me.
No, that was knowledge. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
But
You're
I
like I said, I knew I could do this with you because you're a basketball guy. A lot of people you can't
appreciate
do that with. So you're a basketball guy. I
appreciate
knew I could throw some stuff at you.
Yeah, and I think for your listeners, it's more important not who is actually one or two or three or four, just
Yeah.
the player's characteristics and what we were talking about their skills and
Right.
everything is more important than 1 to 10. Even though 1 to 10 does great on Instagram, but
Yeah, of course. It's
it's not the
clickbait, but
most it's not the most important thing here.
no,
Yeah.
it's not. Again, thank you very much, Andrew. Can you please people are going to love this. They're going to want to listen to your podcast. Can you please again explain where they can find your podcast, your Instagram, Twitter, all about it?
You could find me on Instagram at 12combo ONETWOCOMBO. Combos Court, as you said, it's on every platform, man. We're 100 episodes in. The latest episode, I don't know if that'll be the latest episode when this podcast comes out, but as of now, it's with Jay Billis, episode 150. Had a great conversation with him. Hope you guys could check that out and rate, review, subscribe. And you could always reach out to me on Instagram, man, anytime. I try and answer all of my messages. So we're out here, man. We're out here, Max.
Awesome. By the way, just want to shout you out real quick. You're still a hooper. You're still a baller. I'm looking at your story, and you're still in great shape, man. So that's great stuff.
Yeah, it's not the pro level anymore. I'm a rec baller these days, but I always love the game. And right now we can't play because of Corona. I could dribble my ball, social distancing wise, but I've been taking this
Right.
time to really focus on the body and getting
Yeah.
more like physical fit.
Yeah.
So I'm excited
That's
about that. Yeah, and thoughts and prayers to everybody affected, man, for real.
yes,
Max,
sir.
thanks for having me, man. This was great. This was a great conversation.
Always plenty more to come. So thank you, my man, and you have a safe and blessed day.
You too.